Hey, did you eat yet? Today, we're in Castro Valley, a place I've called home since my family moved us out of Oakland. We moved here when I was in middle school, and I used to hate the fact that we moved out here. Castro Valley in the early 2000s was a strange place for me. You know those random small towns you make a stop at during a road trip whenever you need to take a quick break for a pit stop? That's what it felt like to me at the time. Back then, Castro Valley's demographic was older and was predominantly white Americans, which was very, very new to me, especially growing up mostly in Oakland and Alameda. Being a new kid in a new town is hard, and I didn't truly get to explore Castro Valley until I made friends in high school, some of which I'm still very close with today. It's not like there was a huge food scene out here either back then, and even if there was, it wasn't like I had money to eat out like that growing up here as a kid. There was a rumor growing up that Castro Valley Boulevard was in the Guinness World Records at some point for having the most fast food restaurants on one street. I don't know if that was ever actually true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. After school, all we did was go hoop at the park and then grab McDonald's or Chipotle, loser's treat. I moved back to Castro Valley again a few years ago, and it's almost unrecognizable from when I first moved here in the early 2000s. Sure, the general infrastructure of the town is still the same, but the people, the businesses, the demographic, it's changed a lot. Castro Valley's demographic has shifted more towards Asians, Hispanics, and more people of color over the last few years, and it's extremely noticeable in the restaurants and businesses that have been popping up.
With how the town's changing, kind of like this downtown area, what they're trying to do, definitely a lot more options, a lot more Asian options, and not even just like Chinese, but there's like more sushi spots here than there ever been.
In this episode, we're gonna check out some of the newer Asian spots that have opened up in the small town and meet some local Castro Valley business owners to share their stories. Let's start off our Castro Valley food tour with one of my favorites in town, Pho Auntie 7. Opened in 2021, Pho Auntie 7 has been serving up some of the best Vietnamese food you can find in the area. The menu is huge, filled with your classic bowls of pho, along with more regional noodle soups like bun bue, bun ryu, and mi quang. There's a ton of delicious rice and vermicelli plates too, but what makes Pho Auntie 7 one of my favorites, and what separates them apart from other nearby Vietnamese spots, is their street food offerings. The fact that I can get banh bao, banh cuon, banh hoi, and all these other amazing dishes 5 minutes away from my house keeps me coming back. You're not going to find all these menu items at every Vietnamese restaurant in the East Bay, so it's really amazing that we can get this type of range in Castro Valley. What do you want for dinner tonight? How about Pho Auntie? Is an exchange me and my wife have pretty much every week. With such a big, diverse menu, there's always something I'm down for, and it's the spot worth venturing into Castro Valley for, even if you're not from the area.
My name is Jason. I'm a head chef of Tancho's over here. I've been doing sushi for 9 years.
Tancho opened its doors in Castro Valley in late 2021, introducing a very intimate Japanese omakase sushi restaurant to the town. Serving Edomae-style sushi, Chef Jason, who studied under the famed Chef Nagai, has created an amazing omakase menu full of high-quality, creative, and exciting delicious bites.
I studied at San Francisco 2019. When I met my first mentor, Tommy Nagai, he taught me the real Edomae style sushi. My foundation is based on Tommy Nagai. I enjoy the moment that I preparing the thing. It's like there's a lot of technique I need to learn and I need to show in to my guests.
The omakase menu is constantly evolving and has continued to improve over time since my first visit. During my most recent dinner at Tancho, Chef Jason had just introduced a new menu with so many exciting items. With 18 total courses, each one was beautifully presented, with amazing depths of flavor in each bite. Some of my standouts were the Hira Suzuki sea bass, which had some subtle hints of sesame. The monkfish liver was outstanding, which had an interesting texture and flavor. Not a single piece disappointed, and I was thoroughly impressed with how good the entire meal was. I also got a couple of supplements. The Jikin Madai, a golden eye snapper, which was torched for some nice char on the edge. Incredible. And of course, if there's El Toro available, you have to get that fatty bluefin tuna. Topped with some charcoal salt, this was a perfect bite to finish the meal. All the sake pairings were great too, and we closed out with a salted caramel ice cream, which is complemented with a red wine marinated apple slice. People from all over the Bay Area come to Castro Valley just for Tancho, something we never really had in this town before.
So I also have a lot of guests come from everywhere, so especially they come from San Francisco. They cross the beach, then they come back to Castro Valley. Instead of just they have a seat and have a meal, would like my guests have a good experiment that with the real Edomae style sushi.
Chef Jason makes damn good food, and we're so lucky that he's serving up some of the best sushi you can find in the Bay right here in Castro Valley. The amount of new Asian restaurants coming to Castro Valley has been great, but finding out that we're getting a Hong Kong cafe might have been one of the more exciting things that's happened recently. I spent a lot of late nights at Hong Kong cafes like Shooting Star, which are open late after a night out with a lot of comforting food options on their menu. Garden Cafe just opened up recently in a tucked away part of town, away from the boulevard, taking over the old Dino's, which had been a long-time Castro Valley staple. We checked it out the first weekend it opened, and have been going back pretty much every week since. With a huge menu, there's a ton of Hong Kong cafe classics, your baked pork chops, and drinks like your Hong Kong milk teas and iced lemon teas. And we've explored a lot of the menu now, and after trying a lot of Bay Area Hong Kong cafes growing up, the food here is legitimately really good, and not just in a late night munchies kind of a way. Some of our favorites we order each time are the beef stew or the beef cheek lo mein, with really delicious tender beef over really tasty noodles. We also really like the Fujian fried rice, the green beans, and the fried tofu. I've had a lot of baked pork chops, and Garden Cafe's is really good. The pork chop is seasoned well, it's pretty juicy, and the tomato sauce isn't too tart, and complements the pork chop over rice perfectly. So aside from just actually being a really good new Chinese restaurant for Castro Valley, it's also one of the few options here that are open late, automatically making it a go-to for anyone that lives in the area, whether it's to dine in or for an easy takeout option.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the owner of Always Yours Bakery in Castro Valley. I wanted to follow my passion and open a bakery, and I was able to kickstart my business and open it in December 2021.
Natalie opened up Always Yours in the Village, one of the main shopping centers right in the center of Castro Valley. Since 2018, Natalie is a self-taught baker who utilized pop-up events and social media over the last few years to gain a strong following and customer base.
I learned how to bake macarons, and then I posted on Instagram, and then people just wanted to buy from me. Like after I did the night markets, those were pretty popular. I'd have to stay up all night baking. So 2020, the pandemic hit, and then I was like, oh no, I only make macarons. What should I do? Like, I don't know if my business is gonna survive. I just quit my full-time job. So I just started experimenting and then posting on Instagram, and people were going with it. And then I started getting so busy every weekend, I have to stay up till 6 a.m. with my mom. She would help me wash dishes. And my dad would go and get the supplies for me.
After being a solo operation for a bit, Natalie was able to secure this location in Castro Valley and take that next step into doing this full time, where she now employs 25 people and is a very involved member of the small business community here.
I think I have enough faith in myself to open a business. I wanted to go to Castro Valley because there's free parking. Everyone seems really nice, and it's like a tight-knit community. I got started with baking because I like to see the joy on people's face when I give them this delicious, beautiful dessert, and it just makes my heart warm and fuzzy inside.
With a huge menu of options, ranging from her well-known macarons to fresh-baked Asian American-inspired cookies, and so many different desserts and drinks, you'll definitely be able to satisfy your sweet tooth here. While I was here, I had to get a little spread of some of my favorites. The Thai tea choux pastry is incredible, and probably one of my favorite things they make. Just a great blend of Asian flavors with a French pastry that works so well. The Japanese souffle cheesecake is always super light and fluffy. I love a good cookie, and always end up ordering their butter toffee cookies and ube crinkles. And of course, the macarons, which is how she started this whole business. We always get pistachio macarons, and this time also tried her white rabbit macarons. Just delicious. Off camera, while we just stopped filming, a customer approached Natalie to let her know how she wished this type of shop had been around when she was growing up here a few years prior, and was very excited that Always Yours was in town now. If you're in Castro Valley, definitely stop by to grab some great desserts and drinks. The last business we want to highlight in our Castro Valley episode is the Lake Chabot Public Market, which tragically burned down in a huge fire recently. The Lake Chabot Public Market has been a staple in the Castro Valley community for nearly the last decade now, bringing in an exciting food hall full of Asian American food options that had been missing at the time. Before the fire happened, we were able to sit down with Hans Cho, whose family owns the Lake Chabot Public Market, and Mama Cho's, to talk more about their business and Castro Valley itself.
My name is Hans Cho. I am co-founder and president of Mama Cho's Barbecue. From Castro Valley. I grew up in Castro Valley. Our background is we actually have a wholesale meat business. We've been providing Korean barbecue to a lot of Korean restaurants and markets all over the Bay Area for over 42 years. I had always been interested in opening a food hall concept. So really, I modeled Lake Chabot Public Market after a lot of popular food halls like Oxbow Market in Napa, San Pedro Market in San Jose, Emeryville Public Market. That's how the concept of Lake Chabot Public Market came about. You know, there wasn't really a big food scene in Castro Valley. I mean, we had our staples, obviously with a lot of the fast food restaurants and some of the local favorites. But as far as what we had planned, I can't say that we planned to have more of an Asian American influence. T4 Boba was our first vendor. And then shortly after that was Shumi Ramen. And you know, we were already doing Korean barbecue. It's like, oh, we kind of have a little theme here. And so Milk and Cookie Bar came right after that. And that last space, the original Poke Eatery had reached out and they wanted to open up a second location here. And so it just, you know, it worked nicely with the Hawaiian element. It was kind of like a fusion of a lot of Asian American cuisines, right? So yeah, I mean, I would love to say that I planned it from the start, but it didn't necessarily work out like that.
The Lake Chabot Public Market was home to a handful of my local favorites, including Mama Cho's, a Korean American fast casual eatery and butcher shop with a big menu of traditional Korean dishes, but also a ton of options that are Korean American and Korean Mexican inspired.
Everything's kind of inspired by what we grew up with. Obviously, we have the traditional Korean barbecue, a lot of the meats, but when we were growing up, we realized that you could pair that marinated meat with like different styles of food that we grew up. So like the bulgogi cheesesteak, I'm sure a lot of Korean American families grew up on a bulgogi sandwich of some sort. You know, the Korean tacos and the burritos were inspired by my time in Los Angeles, and a lot of good taco trucks, and then of course, you know, gogi barbecue with, you know, Roy Choi. So I wanted that to be part of our menu as well. Koreans have a marinated hamburger patty called tteokgalbi. We use a chuck and short rib blend, and we marinate it in our kalbi sauce. And so that was something that I'm really proud of, is our kalbi burger.
All of Mama Cho's food is delicious, and they're also well known for their Oakland cut kalbi.
In the wholesale business, we cut a lot of short ribs for restaurants, and you cut the short ribs horizontally so that you get the 3-bone thin cut short ribs, and that's called LA kalbi. And so the end pieces, there's a lot of fatty pieces on the top, and you know, my dad realized that there's a lot of good meat in between the bones. And so that's a cut that actually my dad came up with. We decided to call it Oakland kalbi because when my parents first immigrated to America, they lived in Oakland. And they've been serving a church and community out there for, you know, over 47 years. We started, you know, sharing it with friends and family. They're like, hey, what's that? And then they would like call me, text me, like, hey, can I order some of that for, you know, 4th of July? And so it has become our most popular cut over time, and you won't find that anywhere else. Right.
I also love stopping by to grab random Korean groceries here, being one of the only places in the entire town which had Asian groceries for a while, even with its limited selection. Milk and Cookie Bar was also my favorite ice cream spot in Castro Valley, offering a big menu of traditional ice cream flavors, as well as a ton of Asian American inspired flavors. We actually had Milk and Cookie Bar cater our baby shower earlier this year, and everyone loved their ice creams. The Lake Chabot Public Market always had so many different options for us, and had been a go-to spot ever since they opened up, ushering in a new wave of Asian American restaurants and businesses into Castro Valley. While the incident is still pretty recent, the Cho family has said that it will take a significant amount of time to rebuild the market again. The Castro Valley community is extremely saddened by the loss, and we're all hoping that the market can reopen again someday. Please follow their social media accounts for any updates from the Cho family, and I'll definitely continue to share any news and updates from them as well for any rebuilding efforts. Castro Valley has always been a very, very charming small town. With that small town charm, plus the newfound diversity of small businesses and new restaurants here, Castro Valley is low-key one of the best places in the East Bay. There's still a long way to go though until Castro Valley is a true destination for food, but I'm sure if we were to revisit this again in a few years, it'd be a drastically different video. I'm happy to call Castro Valley home, and I'm excited about how things have changed here while still maintaining its local ethos. I hope you all enjoyed hearing stories from some local Castro Valley business owners, as well as some of my own while growing up here. I loved being able to talk to more people in the process of making this video and learning about their experiences. I'll see y'all next time. And we're going to close out this episode with a little conversation I had with Mason, the founder of Unincorporated, a new clothing store in town, about growing up in Castro Valley.
Something about a sandwich. It's just so simple, yet always delightful. I'm Mason James. I was born here in Castro Valley in Eden Hospital. My family still lives here. My brother's raising his family here. I spent the first 18 years of my life here. Then I moved to the city to go to college and then grow up and get a job and all that fun stuff. But now I just opened this store, Unincorporated. I wanted to bring kind of what I learned in San Francisco back to my hometown and sell some cool clothes.
What are some of your other Castro Valley favorites? Like growing up here, where did you guys eat out?
That's funny because growing up, because the joke about this town of being like so either like old school Americana or fast food, and there's like no in between.
Yeah.
Like I think about days at CV High, like lunchtime,
Yeah.
and how the options were like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Taco Bell,
Yeah.
Chipotle when it came around,
Right.
Little Caesars. Like that was like the rotation.
food.
If you were going off campus, it was just fast food options.
Right.
My parents used to go hard on like KFC and stuff like that. So we have every option here.
Right.
But like trying to think of like sit down restaurants growing up, there wasn't that much. Top Thai up the street
Yep.
has been around. That's always been good. But yeah, I feel like if we wanted anything that wasn't in that realm, we had to leave Castro
For sure.
Valley. I mean, there's staples like Luca's, Val's back in the day.
Yeah.
The classic Americana. Like we
Exactly.
had Dell's, JD's, Doug's.
Yeah.
We've always had the greasy spoon type of place. I
For
used
sure.
to eat Rudy's Donuts. I used to eat 2 chocolate
man.
old fashions every day of like junior year. Like how I didn't
That's crazy.
explode is beyond me. But shout out Rudy's.
Yeah, shout out
Still
Rudy's.
one of some of the best donuts I've ever had. I remember like the elementary school parties getting like the King Kong
Yep.
pizza that was like 5 foot wide.
Yeah, I'm always
Pizza
Pizza,
Express.
still Pizza Express.
Pizza
to
Express,
this
like,
day.
yes. If I learned anything from the last like 3 weeks of the store being open, everyone's like really dying for like a nice dinner spot. So they don't have to leave. They don't have to go to Berkeley or Oakland or Dublin or San Francisco or Walnut Creek or something like that. Like fine dining, just like elevated like spots that you would find in Berkeley or Oakland or
Yeah,
San
for
Francisco.
sure.
So similar to like with what I'm trying to bring here with the shop of like Castro Valley has money and they have a younger demographic of people who've lived in San Francisco or maybe can't afford the valley and they want to raise a family here because it's a good
Yeah.
place to grow up. But they also want to spend that money doing nicer things and buying nicer clothes and eating nicer food.
Yeah.
Right now with where the town stands, there's kind of a void and it always has been.
I think it's like a interesting age of this. Like it's like a bridge right now.
Yeah.
Like an older generation to a newer generation.
For sure. With how the town's changing, kind of like this downtown area, what they're trying to do, definitely a lot more options, a lot more Asian options, and not even just like Chinese, but there's like more sushi spots here than there ever
Yeah.
been. Thai's always kind of been a little bit prevalent. And then the Indian place Pulkari over here, I hear good things about. It's the Indian
never had that
buffet. And then we got Hot Pot coming in across the
Right.
street.
That one's interesting.
Yep, the Hong Kong cafe. Like, there's definitely a booming Asian scene. Which, speaking of the Facebook
Yeah.
groups, there's obviously like the older faction of Castro Valley people that are like, ugh, more Asian food.
What was it like growing up in Castro Valley?
It was definitely sleepier. I think a lot of people like to shit on Castro Valley being kind of just like a boring white bedroom community in the early aughts.
Yeah.
Which it maybe still is a little bit, but I think it's definitely shedding that reputation a little bit with some of the things that are coming in. It's like a really big, small town. Between the 12 elementary schools or whatever it is, kind of gets funneled into 2 middle schools and then 1 high school. So everyone kind of really knows each other one way or another, especially if you played sports like I did.
Yep.
Sports kept me busy. I think being a minority, a double minority, being Chinese and black, growing up here was different than if I were to grow up here now. I think I was youthful and ignorant that I didn't really, like I knew obviously that I was somewhat different. And I think my dad prepared me for like what reality is like being a black person growing up in a predominantly white area. But like it didn't really quote unquote like affect me.
Right.
Because I just don't think I knew
Yeah.
like subtle racism
Right.
that was happening. I remember this one specific instance where my mom was like picking us up for a field trip or dropped me off or something. And after she like left me, these kids were like, "Are you adopted?" I'm like, "No, why?" It's like, "You don't look anything like your mom." And I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
think about it. Like,
Yeah.
I just grew up with this woman.
Right.
Like she raised me. So like I didn't think it twice. And it's like, yeah, we don't look alike because she's not black at all and I am
Right.
half. So shit like that.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
dealt with my whole life, especially like growing up playing baseball, which in this town is like even more predominantly white activity to do.
Yeah.
Just being the brunt of jokes and things like that. It's a changing landscape, and there's half of it is just like younger people that are welcoming to this and like want all this new shiny things, and then there's like half of the people like want Castro Valley to stay
How it is,
what
right?
what it's been for the last 30, 40 years.